The United States. Man, I love this country. Today is the quarter millennium, or the 250th anniversary of the founding of this land, and I decided to make this video to express my gratitude for it as an American citizen. For many, it may seem like there's not that much to celebrate right now, and believe me, I understand. However, I do think it's also important that we remain optimistic about the value and beauty that this place I call home has to offer. First of all, I want to talk about what it means to be an American. I know I'm one. I know my parents are. But how do I put that into words? Well, luckily there was a Supreme Court case about that last week that made it clear that an American is anyone who was born on US soil or immigrates here. But I know that's the definition, but what does it mean to actually be an American? Because of that question, I believe it's important why we emphasize the reasons why the values, principles, and culture that make the United States of America, America are important, and why being a citizen of her is unique, special, and worth it. One quote about being an American that I love is from former US President Ronald Reagan. And before you click away, I just want to acknowledge that yes, Reagan had a lot of issues as president. But this specific phrase, I believe, really captures the beauty of what makes being an American so special.
You can go to live in France, but you cannot become a Frenchman. You can go to live in Germany or Turkey or Japan, but you cannot become a German, a Turk, or Japanese. But anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American.
I really like this speech because here, I believe the president does a good job of emphasizing that being an American is special and unique because unlike in other nations where citizenship is strictly tied to ancestry or bloodline, anyone from anywhere in the world can come to the United States and become an American. Another thing I would like to talk about that makes me proud to be an American is our values of freedom and liberty. Yes, it's true we have work to do on these fronts, and yes, it's true other countries have these values. But just as I'm proud of them for having it, I'm proud of my country for having them as well. Anyways, more specifically, I would like to talk about these values of freedom and liberty as defined by former President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. FDR's State of the Union framed the essence of American liberty around four fundamental pillars: freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear, establishing a moral standard not just for citizens of the United States, but for citizens around the globe, which was especially important since this was during World War II when many of these values were under attack. In addition, I would like to mention my appreciation for the United States' emphasis on our individual action. Now, obviously, American capitalist culture prioritizes self-reliance, independence, and personal success. And while that's great and all, what I want to focus on is my appreciation for our country's emphasis on using our personal activity to contribute to the common good. For example, John F. Kennedy, one of my favorite US presidents, in his inaugural address, he defined an active citizen as one who prioritizes public duty and service, famously challenging Americans with the line,
"And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country."
I really mean it when I say that I've taken this line to heart as a way of inspiring my actions as an American. It has informed my love for my country by pushing me, along with my faith, to do a lot more community service for others and be a public servant. Well, I'm not trying to brag that I do service. I would never want to do that. I do mention it in this video as a way of hopefully inspiring others who may be watching to do the same if they love anything, but especially the country in this instance. Now that we've talked about what an American citizen is, such as its literal definition, what it means to be an American, and what living out those values look like, I want to talk about some of my favorite Americans. Outside of my family and friends, of course. I am someone who often looks up to people because I thrive off of having role models. And while American history is far from spotless and without crime, I am very grateful to live in a country with a strong history of producing many people worthy of recognition and who provide great examples of what it means to be a good citizen. Now, it's hard to go wrong with some of the classic examples. As a fan of history and like you, we probably have a shared interest in George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, MLK Jr., Rosa Parks, Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, Neil Armstrong, Harriet Tubman, and more. But what I would like to do is I'd like to highlight some of the more underrated Americans who might not be the first people you think of in the country's history. For example, there's Father Greg Boyle, the founder of Homeboy Industries, which has given many former incarcerated individuals and former gang members a second chance at life. Second, there's Pope Leo XIV, the Chicagoan who has already made his mark by being the first American to become the Catholic Pope, and who in recent months has been pushing the US to be more nonviolent, less aggressive, and more humane in its government laws and policies.
To search always for peace and not violence.
And finally, there's Clara Barton, who I honestly think is one of the most underrated women in American history because of her commitment to service and her founding of the American Red Cross, which has continued to help people past and present. Now, I want to talk about American culture. Man, I really love the culture here. What do you think of when you think of American culture? I'll tell you what I think of. Well, what's more American than apple pie, barbecue, buffalo wings, sports, especially football and baseball, superheroes, cartoons, cowboys, national monuments like the Statue of Liberty and Mount Rushmore? For better or worse, even company brands like Coca-Cola and McDonald's are associated with the culture of the United States. Oh God, I'm getting carried away. You know, I actually got inspired partially to make this video because I was reading the list of examples of American culture listed on the Americana Wikipedia page. Basically, much of my love for this country's culture stems from how big, diverse, and immersive she is. There really is something for everybody here. For example, this country is so big that you can do a road trip in every climate zone without leaving the country. The populations here are so big, you have communities and diasporas from all over the world that are contributing to the US's distinct cultural regions, cuisine, and economy. Because of that, I hope to do the Great American Road Trip before I die. Also, the Hollywood movie industry is here, making some of the best movies in the world, including many of my personal favorites. The US also has such terribly great fast food and drinks that it's a problem. Believe me, I've had way more burgers, hot dogs, milkshakes, and barbecue for my own good. The US pioneered genres in music like rock and roll, country, jazz, and more. I'm not a soccer player, but it's my favorite sport to watch. And I'm happy that it's not the major sport in America because we have 4 other major sports fighting for attention. It makes things more interesting and provides us with the sport in every season. And finally, I want to mention my appreciation for my home in Silicon Valley, which inspires me every day with its innovation in technology, engineering, and finance, always pushing me to aim higher. Now, one final thing I want to talk about is the idea of the American experiment. Sometimes people ask whether or not America is in decline or whether our best days are behind us. And the truth is, I don't know. None of us can predict the future. But one thing I do know is that this country has faced scary obstacles before. We have lived through and survived a revolutionary war, a civil war, economic depressions, 2 world wars, political scandals that brought down presidents, terrorist attacks, and many more moments when we wondered whether the country would survive. Yet somehow, generation after generation, citizens of the United States of America have continued to work to improve this country. I am feeling very patriotic this 4th of July. But I'm not patriotic because I'm pretending that America is perfect or by ignoring its past mistakes. That's not patriotism. I am patriotic because, to me, American patriotism is believing America is still worth making better despite all of its flaws. The ideals of freedom, social justice, and equal opportunity are not achievements that we have permanently completed. Rather, they are goals that every generation has the responsibility to pursue. Which is what I hope to do in my future career, hopefully in law, government, or politics. I love my country, and I really hope that my generation leaves the United States with more strength, unity, and kindness than how we found it. And I know that sounds like a lot of empty platitudes, but I really mean it when I say that because I believe doing so will give us even more reasons to celebrate when our 300th anniversary comes in another 50 years. Just as Americans celebrated our bicentennial, or our 200th anniversary, through one of the nation's most difficult moments, I hope that we can celebrate this anniversary with the same confidence that our best days are ahead of us. Remember, when Americans were celebrating their 200th anniversary, they were going through one of the country's hardest moments in the wake of the Watergate scandal. Like them, I hope we can celebrate this anniversary with the same confidence that our best days are ahead of us.
So right now, I am in downtown San Francisco in Fisherman's Wharf with the Golden Gate Bridge behind me. In conclusion, while the United States is an imperfect country and has multiple problems, I still love her. Firstly, I love her for the principles that she pursues and teaches us to pursue when she falls short. Second, I love her because this country is so big and diverse, it has so much to discover. Thirdly, finally, I love this country because anyone can become an American from around the world and contribute to the American story. As we celebrate the USA's 250th anniversary, I hope we remember where we've been to think about where we hope to go as a nation. We have a responsibility to leave this country better than we found it. I am grateful and proud of this place and optimistic about the future. Happy 250th birthday, America, and may God bless the United States of America.